Good afternoon, writers. Today we are just going to talk about what an informational text will look like and what your writing might look like. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at an example of a nonfiction writing piece that's going to be set up similarly to how you're going to do your own state report writing. First, I want to show you um, just some ideas for when you write an informational text. It goes a little bit differently than story writing, but we also have to remember that it must still be organized, and we also want to keep our audience in mind. So when we plan for teaching others as a way to rehearse for writing, we want to think about, what do I want my audience to learn? We want to think about who, what, where. All of these questions come to mind when we're having our audience learn. We're informing them about information on our state. You also want to think about what will hold my audience's interest. We want to make sure that we add quotes, anecdotes, any facts, making sure that our writing is interesting. And we also want to make sure that we use a writer's voice to make sure that we are also interesting our readers. And lastly, we want to think about what will confuse them. If you are wondering, or you may be confused about, we want to think about making sure our writing is clear enough that our audience doesn't have to fill in those gaps, that you're doing that for them in their writing. So what I'm going to show you is an example of an animal report. And this one's on a Bengal tigers. And if you think about it, I just want you to take a look at some things, because you're going to get a very similar report format, except your topic won't be animals, your topic will be your specific state. We want to think about noticing that we have a title here. We even have photos, and looking at some of our text features that we have. I want you to pay attention. What text features do you notice that this author has in her writing? I'm seeing a glossary, so I'm going to assume that there's some bold words in her writing, and she does a nice job of defining these and giving us the definition, so when we come across them in our reading, we can go to our glossary and see what they mean. So it's really, really important that we're using content words in our writing to make our audience learn these new words about our state. I'm noticing that I have my heading here. I have an introduction. So that's going to introduce what I'm talking about. And I'm not going to read word for word what this article says, but I'm looking for what it looks like and what we might incorporate in our own writing, so that you can see an example of what your final product will look like. If you notice that we have another heading, we've got appearance, and we've got our two bolded words here and highlighted words here, using them in context. Oh my goodness, I see another text feature. We have a map. Maps are going to be very helpful to tell us where we're talking about, especially with our state. Defense and offense, noticing that I even have another text feature here. I have a graph, and this is telling us about a decline. So my guess is that this section is going to tell us a little bit about what's in that graph. If I scroll down here, there's another food and diet, another heading, and some more pictures. And then lastly, a conclusion. So how are we going to close out our writing? And even some other things, other resources that you can get more information, another option as writers that you can include. So what you might want to think about, what did this author do in this writing, even just in the organization of the writing? To me, this looks very easy to read. I'm noticing that I have sections in here, but I also have paragraphs in our headings or in our sections here. So what I want you to do on your seesaw assignment today is just kind of jot down some of the things that you might have heard me talk about in our writing and some things that we want to pay attention to as we begin our informational writing next week. We'll get to look at some more examples of strong informational writers and how we will make our writing sound when we're talking about our specific state. All right, so make sure that you are taking some time to read on EPIC, some nonfiction and informational books. Doesn't have to be on your state, but there are several books that you can look up your state name on EPIC Books, and you might be able to find a book on your state and get some more information on them. But also, I really want you to think like a writer as you're reading information text. What did these authors do to make their informational text interesting to read? Because we want to see that in your own writing, and we're going to give you lots of strategies to do that. All right, writers, off you go.